How are we doing, everybody? Welcome to the Sean Atwood channel, the home of Ron's poor journalism, if you listen to Snappy in the side chat. So we're here today to talk to Jevim. And, I've been doing this a long time. And never before in my life have I gone to do an interview and then received an email from the people who are on the other side of the interview before. And I'll be honest, I never said to Snappy that I was intending on using any of his voice memos. But in saying that, I'm a journalist. You never said it. You wanted it to be off the record. Learning curves. So I did inform you that I would be using your statements. And there's nothing, I honestly don't, I'll be honest with you. I think you've said your piece quite well, if I'm being honest. So that's an interesting one. That's never happened before. I've never in my life had that happen. So it's interesting. Now, I'm going to tell you this, Jevan, and what was his name? Snappy. Is that his name? Snappy? Who was Snappy?
Snappy, yes.
I am going to get to the bottom of this, okay? And I want you all to look me in the face here.
Absolutely.
Because Ron's got loyalty to the truth, okay? And Ron will figure it out, okay? Because somebody's telling porcupines. Someone is telling porcupines. Now,
yes.
Just so all of the supporters know, I'm Ron. I've been infiltrating and exposing horrible groups of people for close to a decade now. 100% success record. Convictions, lives destroyed, everything. If you are someone who preys upon the weak, children, the vulnerable, any of it, and you pop up on my target, it's a bad day for you. But at the same time, you've all heard of stolen valor, right? So it's the same when it comes to anyone who would try and use a situation like Jevan's. Many people have come forward before and given horrible fake testimonies, have been nasty, crazy people who are trying to cause other people problems. It's not out of the question. I'm certainly not saying that is what Jevan's doing. I'm certainly not saying I'm not taking anyone's side right now. I'm just excited to get into this because it's way easier when the alleged group of horrible people don't live within half a mile of your house. Also, we just got a conviction today, okay? Conviction today. Kyle Kernican serving 8 years now for 2 counts of R and 1 count of R with a crowbar, all right? And there are 4 or 5 members of that gang to go down. And yeah, but I will say, you're confused. Don't worry. So, Jevan, you where we're going to start. And like what I'd like you to do is just kind of introduce yourself. And then let's start at the beginning of your journey. Okay. Let's not worry too much about the alleged cult. Let's talk about your journey into there, the people that you met, and then we're going to just sort of start learning what defines a cult. Okay. Because trust me, you can accidentally wake up one morning and realize, oh my God, I've accidentally become a cult leader. It sounds crazy. Okay. But then also you can get lost in your own ego. You can, R does not mean robbery. R means the nasty thing that you would do to another person. You know, you take Sean, you know what R means. It rhymes with grape. Okay. So I didn't want to postpone the interview. And online cults are real. So I'm sorry. One of the arguments is, how can it possibly be a cult? It's a Discord. Listen, in 2025, digital spaces are real. Okay. So are you saying that you don't have a job if you work remotely from home? Because that's usually over a server too, right? But it's nonsense. But this is how people fall into traps. And could we be looking at somebody who got way too carried away in an egotistical echo chamber in the shadow of this figure, this maman? I'm pronouncing it wrong. Who knows? But we're going to get to the bottom of it. Jevan, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
Hi.
And sorry, by the way, that all this has kind of happened. It's a very unusual set of circumstances. I've never had.
Well, not really for me. Not really for me. Unusual things have always happened around me. It's just the way
Well, look,
it goes.
there's unusual things, and then there's what's happened to me today. But look, why don't you introduce yourself and start to take us through how you first ended up with this group and your journey to
How I ended up with the Ammonites. Okay, well,
Ammonite.
I have been into alternative spiritual studies my whole life, and in 1999, I walked away from the church for good. I was raised very strict Southern Baptist. And when I walked away, I was very open and bright about it. And so the family's like, damned me to hell. The whole town damned me to hell. So that sort of started my research journey into the unknown and the abyss of the occult. So from there, let's see, I got craft mothers that were 33-degree Masons, female Masons, daughters of Masons as well, Eastern Star. All of them was teaching me Wicca. And then Mariah initiated me into a very secretive, intuitive tradition. And, so that is where that's where my base of my practice comes from, is very intuitive from these women. What these women did tell me, though, was not to get involved with any practicing high ceremonial magicians. And I was very intrigued about that. I was like, well, it would seem like, for a heterosexual woman, that should be the way to go. Why would I not want to gravitate towards that? And they said that they know what we are. They know the power that women wield. They know how to use us as generators, catalysts in a circle to use and draw from to help connect to the divine. They said that certain men totally understand that we are the connection to the divine as vessels on this earth. So I've worked with Golden Dawn initiates for 7 years. I've had quite a bit of training.
Okay. So how would you define your training and your path? You talked about 33-degree female Masons. I would have to say there's no such thing as a 33-degree female Mason. The Northern Star, or I believe is what the female sect is.
Eastern Star, Golden Dawn.
Mm-hmm. The Golden Dawn, yeah. Was that what you were referencing when you meant 33-degree female Mason?
Yes.
Okay.
And and all the golden, and her father was an engineer for what's the Scientology guy, the science guy, L. Ron Hubbard. Sorry. L. Ron Hubbard. Sorry.
L. Ron, yeah.
Yes, her father worked. Her father worked with L. Ron Hubbard. Sorry.
That's okay. Let's go back to what you said at the start about your childhood.
I was not initiated into the Masons.
No, of course not. You're a woman.
I was not. I would not.
You're a woman. Yeah, you're a woman. You wouldn't have gotten into the Masons. So,
thank you. Well, she has a certificate from it that I can show, if need be. I have receipts to back up everything I say, by the way.
Sure. No, I understand that they don't hand out certificates of the Freemasons, just so you know.
Right. I didn't either. I mean, seeing's believing, right?
To even write down that you've achieved something in the Masons would be against the Masons' laws, if you see what I mean. So,
well, we are talking about women, which are rebels.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's no correlation between the Freemasons and anything Eastern Star, or was set up by the women to try and create balance with the Freemasons. But the Freemasons can move freely within the female organizations, and the women can't get past the front door of a Mason lodge. So when you said at the start of your story that you felt outcasted, there was this sense of displacement you said at the start. I can't remember the reason for you feeling displaced, and you went to find these answers, and that's why you got involved with these people,
Oh, the
right?
family totally my family totally rejected
Yeah.
my want and need to research other religions and aspects of spirituality.
Mm. And was
Southern
that because
Baptist very strict. No, there is no other gods. This is the
right?
way. This is
It's
the
the
way
southern,
and no other
yeah,
way.
the Southern Belt. Did you
Mhm.
say the Southern Belt? Is that what you said?
And yeah, Eastern
Yeah,
Tennessee.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. So it is God-fearing people. Okay, well, that's what we're
Yes.
talking about. Granddaddy's
Yes.
granddaddy.
Super. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So how how deep was that sort of orchestra that shunning of you? Was it like you are no longer our child if you keep this up, or was it just a case of,
Yes.
oh, Jevan, don't be silly?
No. No.
It was
No.
the real
Go
deal.
away. Go away. Go to hell. Never come back.
So
Yes.
what age was that
Yes.
at?
So I had to have a deep spiritual drive to be able, through all these years, to just to deal with all the haters and naysayers just because I'm like wanting to look for my own truth and explore those things.
I get you. So what age did you feel you were disconnected from your family in this way? What was your
For
age?
as far back as I can remember, really.
Wow,
Because
that's
I
hard.
kept having dreams of Egypt, ancient Egypt, and they're going to keep finding amazing things under the sand if they just keep digging. There's mass under there.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, they've just discovered. I mean, the side chat can help us out. However many hundreds of feet of all kinds of madness going on down there. Now, feeling this outcast from your family, from society, all of this, then embracing the teachings of the Eastern Star, the Freemasons, and these sort of more hidden societies. Did you find peace within that, or did you find further outcasting?
Um, I found peace. I found peace in the mother. I felt peace in the goddess. I found peace in looking at my shadow and realizing how deep my mother wound was, and then seeing how scarred society is from everyone else's mother wounds. And I become real focused on how can I heal myself and maybe somehow help heal the world with what I know of the damage that the first initiation into this realm is, which is birth. And as soon as I started recognizing how hurt everyone was, it was easy for me to forgive my family because
So
they
you're
were acting from places of fear and pain.
so you were okay. So you are seeing those who rejected your perception on things as
Hmm.
people who are suffering in the almost naivety of organized faith.
Exactly. Hmm.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
The closed mindedness, because to me, a mark of high intelligence is extreme flexibility of the mind and heart to be able to sort of look at different facets of how things could be and not say, no, this is true. This is the only truth. You know, flexibility is very important to me when talking with other people.
how angry were you with the rejection of your family growing up?
I was not angry. I was extremely hurt. Um, it taught me that love was very conditional.
Mm-hmm.
It told me that my family was very prideful. I even asked my grandmother as a little girl, like, is our family cursed? Well, no, what are you talking about? Well, all these things are happening in this house that seem to be like a family curse, maybe. And I realized that this generational curse was not just mine, but everybody's. That everybody's families have been put through turmoils and societies, social engineering programs.
Do you not think it's quite easy to blame curses and demons for our own afflictions that we gravitate and bring to ourselves in some ways?
I think
feel
that
like
people will blame anything, and they would rather blame anything instead of looking into the mirror and doing the work.
Correct. So
Absolutely.
can we start putting some time frames together? How many years, or when did you start with your first step into the sort of the magic with these Eastern Star people? How long ago was your initial start point on that?
That was in 1999 because, well, my moon is in Sagittarius, so when my heart's in it, I'm all in, feet first in. So I went through, I got into the communities, I got the books, I was looking at all these groups, covens. I helped start a couple of covens. I quickly realized that there was something about me that kind of just didn't need a group, didn't set well with a group. And then about 5 years ago, I got late diagnosis of ADHD. And there's all kinds of telltale signs that I'm actually on the spectrum as well. The inability to be in a form of hive mind group is just not something I've ever been able to do.
Right. Okay. When you must have gravitated to certain parts of this journey more than others. Did you find yourself being drawn to more forms of magic and other disciplines over others? If so, could you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I was very, very drawn to the sigils, the more hidden of it, like what is going on. There's something here, right? And I looked through the new books, I looked through the old books. No, something's missing. There's something very valid that I'm supposed to find. And that is probably my strongest gift, is that if I'm led to go look somewhere, I will find something. I always find something if I am led to go look there, be it a channel,
How
a
do you
book.
feel if you find what you're looking for?
I guess it's that little dopamine rush, like a little piece of candy to a diabetic about to die. I don't know. It kind of keeps reminding me that, like, I'm supposed to be on a journey, doing something, looking at something, finding
It's a
something.
drive.
I don't know.
It's a drive, right? It's a drive for either
Yeah.
knowledge or the next step or
Right. My mother got so aggravated with me because she's like, "There's only God. What? You were saved. What are you talking about?" And I said,
thank you
I
for that.
don't know what I'm looking for. She said, "You will never be satiated. You've always been on a search for something."
And throughout your journey up until this point, also, Missy's was saying, were you recruited by a family member into the Freemasons? I mean, couldn't be. She's a lady. There's no ladies in the Freemasons.
There is no group that wants me, because I call a spade as soon as I see a spade.
Well, that's what I was
And
going to ask you. You sound like
secrecy is needed to maintain things. And if things go awry, I'm like, "Hello, can we look at it?" If I get ignored, I'm like, "Hello, are we going to talk about it?" I get ignored. Then I'm like, "Okay, I'll just shout it out. The elephant in the room is the color purple."
So it seems like you've been on quite a journey. You've been involved with a few groups. If you were to assess how many groups you were in before you ended up in this Discord group, would you say how many of those groups and individuals have you sort of carried forward with you, or have they all sort of been left behind?
I left them all behind. Yeah, because I'm still friends with a lot of people, but groups once I seen they were just agendas, and they want you to move a certain way, and I dance to the beat of my own drum. I can't be conformed or confined. And once I realized that I was being groomed, I got angry.
And when you say you realized you were getting groomed, at what point is this with this new group, or was this with the groups before? Like,
this past group that I left, summer solstice of 2024, the day of summer solstice. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think we've painted a decent background. I think we can see that you've been on a lifelong journey. Your family life growing up was difficult. It pushed you on this path. I think a lot of us can relate, especially to some of the American viewers across the pond, because by God, there is some very religious parts of the States, and they take it serious. They really take it serious, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Especially in the South.
Yeah.
And in the South, honestly, everybody, in the South's where you're going to find the most deepest hidden occulted works in America.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the country was founded by occultists. You're the founding father of of America, I do believe, was very deep into the occult and a Freemason. Mm-hmm. In fact, America was accidentally discovered, and then we were like, should we just kill everyone and build a country here? Yeah, let's do that. Okay, that's basically how it went. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I have in my family tree Oliver Cromwell and Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
Now, so I went searching as to why I had this deep drive for these occult knowledges, and how sigils and signs and symbols were just like eye candy to me all the time. Yep.
I get it. Listen, for everyone that's viewing, I'm 25 years practicing pagan witch. The central point of 90% of my magic is sigils. So I've got a lot invested in getting to the bottom of all this, because I don't like it when my kind of people start getting groomed or lied about, or both, whatever. So we'll get to the bottom of all. Now, let's begin on where the also, I'm sorry, what the hell was the name of the Discord that all this happened on? What was the name of the group? It's got one of those mad names.
Myth and Lore.
Myth and Lore. That's not the one with the mad name.
Yeah,
there was
less than less than 300 people in it.
Yeah, I do apologize. When I say mad name, that's me too simple to remember. It was a very cool name, okay, but I just can't remember it. So it was proper Greek, like need to read textbooks to know these words, with like a Z and a Q and a Y. Like what?
Well, I mean, you need to be an initiate to even realize what's going on.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the initiations and things like that. Also, what I think is very interesting is how the community grew into what it was. It was almost, and again, I've just had a very, very quick conversation. What the hell's the guy's name? I'm so sorry, viewers. Scrappy, was it Scrappy? What's his name? Oh, I'm so sorry. Raw Path. Anyway, the guy that's in the same.
Snappy. Yes.
Oh, sorry,
yes.
not doing that to be condescending.
Yes, and remember, Isis gave us the story as to why a name is so important. So let that sneak in.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to write it down because it's so bloody rude. Like, I'm not doing it to be condescending. It's not like one of those podcaster power trip things. I'm genuinely that stupid.
No, gosh. I mean, you are so down to earth, Ron. I'm down to earth. I mean, no nonsense. I don't give a shit. I have nothing to hide. And the sooner people realize that about me, the better.
Yeah, I'm a blood hungry sociopath. Okay, so people should know that about me. I'm just a very well balanced guy. Okay, the black and the white. I am the gray. Okay, I'm the mix of the good and the bad. There's just no place for evil.
Exactly.
So,
Thank you,
okay,
Ron.
let's begin this journey now. We've set the stage of who you are. We've got a little bit of your life. Take us to the day before you joined the Discord. Take us through the day before all this happened. And then take us into your initial joining, what drew you there. Hit us with your backstory. But take us up to the first occasion where...
I just want to comment on, I'm not surprised that they're stating that the Discord got deleted. I'm not sure. I mean, who would know? But there's a host of, I mean, your evidence right there is gone. But we
Discords aren't ever gone. You can delete
I don't know.
Discord.
Snappy just said it was
Yeah.
deleted.
Oh no. You can retrieve all the data from a deleted Discord. It's very simple. Discord keep it all in text format. So you can apply for legal proceedings to have all of that data.
Yeah.
Research.
Thanks for that, Snappy, though.
Yeah. It's easy peasy. It's the same with like WhatsApp. It all falls under the same legal stature because it's an application. So what you won't get is any
so you want to know how I knew? How did we get here? What about what's going on? Okay. Well,
I want to know the day before you joined, what drew you in and what started your journey. I want to start there.
Well,
you got this.
I had went through a lot of stuff and I was like, well, maybe I should look at the Gnostics because I had not really done much research into them at all. And I've kind of been avoiding it because I thought, no, it's just so Christian. I want to hear more Christian stuff, blah, blah, blah. So, Gnostic Informant had popped up and I had watched some videos. And then there was this bald guy on there. I was like, whoa, that's the energy that kind of hit me like Nosferatu, right? What is up with this guy? There was a presence about him that the kitty in me said, you need to inquire, what was it about this one guest? Like, why? So I watched the interview and I was fascinated. And then I went to his channel. He had less than 3,000 or 4,000 followers. And because I had done so much work for like 25 plus years in the occult, once I got to the Lady Babylon channel, I went through his work like water, right? Because I process information very fast, okay? Once I heard things that I had already come across or was familiar, it got, thrown out. I was looking for all the bits that he was putting out that would help me connect more dots of these things that I was missing on this great search of what truth, And so when I heard that this Greek text had been translated to us all wrong for 2,000 years or for however, hopefully nobody gets caught up in semantics and splits hairs on me. But I mean,
they're obviously going to do that.
I mean, yeah, people love to do it, and they can. But I'm human, and I will stumble. I will stumble.
All right, don't worry, you got this.
Okay, so he was like, he has the truth, and what he's saying is true. Because he is a Greek scholar, he's a linguist, and he knows bacteriology. He knows what he's saying. He's got a PhD. He knows what he's saying. Exactly. So I believed it. I believed what he said, that we had been lied to on these Greek translations as to what was really going on in the New Testament in ancient times. What he was telling everybody was that Jesus was actually a lestes, a child trafficker, and not a liberator, but a pirate.
That's one of the points that gets brought up later on in the interview, if I'm being honest. And just to be clear, the ideology of this group or this individual, I do believe one of the more extreme views was that Jesus was a human transporter of children, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that Mary
I'll be
was of a
honest, listen,
sacred
I'll be honest.
feminine line of a tradition.
Jevim, I'll be honest with you. I don't speak Greek, okay? And I wasn't there. Okay. So
Okay.
we just, and it sounds a bit, I'm sure if that was written down about Jesus, someone would be talking about it right now. Chat GPT could read it to you correctly. Do you see what I'm saying?
Not if somebody had an agenda, Ron.
Oh, well, of course. You know, there's religions found on believe me what these tablets say, but I can't show you what the tablets say. So religion is a bit mad. I'll be honest with you. It always has been a bit mad to me.
I agree, Ron.
I don't mean to offend everybody. I don't mean to offend anyone. That's your thing. That's just my opinion. I don't judge anyone. We can still all be friends. It's fine. But blind faith has never worked for me, ever.
Me neither, Ron. No, but with him, it happened. It happened because I was on such an information high, right? Whoo-hoo, I'm getting a hold of something that, what in the world? This is fire.
Okay.
This is fire, right? So after I'd worked through all his stuff, and I went through all his work in a week. I was like, oh, so there's a group, there's a working group, there's a magical group. What is going on? When the world finds this out, you know, this is the liberation, right? Like the truth. Like, is this the truth?
There you go.
But I think I never questioned it. I never questioned it.
In fact, let me Google this.
Because I can't read the Greek.
Jesus and oh man, I can't believe the words naked boy are going to be in my algorithm on freaking Google now. Jesus and the naked boy in the garden of oh man, why are the words like you can tell that is an old word. Like no one's making up words now like Gethem Samem Ne. No one's doing that. Right, let's have a look here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see what the AI has to say about it, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't speak Greek and neither does Jevim. So we have to go to our third co-host, Google AI. In Mark 14:51-52, the Gospel of Mark mentions a naked young man fleeing after Jesus' arrest in the garden. We're just going to call it Gethes. Okay, because I can't say that word. So it's the garden.
It's Gethsemane.
Gethsemane. Okay, that's fine. That's gonna come out Yosemite, but that's fine. The young man said initially, following Jesus, wearing only a loincloth, which is basically top tier fashion of the day for summer. At that point, I would imagine, right? There's no shorts or that. If it's a roasting day, you're loinclothing it up. Okay, I'm just saying. Your mum gets out the paddling bricks. Okay, she makes the paddling brick pond. You all get in there. You have yourself a great freaking Jesus time. That's all I'm saying. But when apprehended, he left the cloth behind and ran away naked. This event is not mentioned in the other canonical gospels, making it unique detail in Mark's account. All right. Okay, Mark. All right, mystical Mark. Is that your call center voice, Mark? Because it doesn't sound very biblical, but neither does John, so that's right. The story of the naked boy occurs immediately after Jesus' arrest in the garden of that, and then the scene is described in other gospels. So there is wearing a single loincloth. Why? Scholars have debated the purpose of Mark's inclusion of this seemingly minor detail. Some suggest it adds a layer of mystery and tension to the arrest, while others see it as a symbol of vulnerability of the young man. Listen, it's never a good look to get arrested in a park with a young boy in a loincloth, okay? I'm just saying. But it was mentioned one time, and there is It's there. Is that not just the most primo, open to interpretation, biblical piece of text that, my God, you could turn that into, it's a sign of innocence. It's a sign of transportation. It is.
Yes.
It's one of them. It is one of them. It's one of them.
So you see how easily anyone could be
Yeah.
wrapped up in this mystery tradition,
Yeah.
right? Because
it's intriguing, right? It's one of those points where you're like, Jeebus is a
so
people.
seductive. My Venus is in Scorpio. I'm all about seduction. I want it all.
Yeah.
Tell me, let me see it. So it was very easy to believe. Very
it's easy to latch onto. And then
and it tickled my curiosities like you wouldn't believe. And then I was like, okay, there's a group, and I had to I seen really fast, like before I even joined the group, I kind of seen who the head of that was.
Okay.
That was very evident. So I had to you got to play detective guesswork to figure out how to get into the Discord. And I got in the Discord, and it was kind of like, oh, what's this person? And I made an introduction, and one thing I remember is like after my introduction, the first post I made, one girl just like jumped on me, and I'm like, honey, I don't back down from anybody or anything, unless, I feel like that is, in my best,
when you say she jumped on you, can I ask you, how did you enter the room, metaphorically speaking? Right? Was it like a hi, I'm Jevan, looking forward to meet you all, or did you come in and go, wrong?
No. Everyone feels me when I enter the room. Right. Yeah, well, I put the introduction in the wrong tab. Not in the introduction tab.
Yeah, that's
just my, just let's say ADHD. I get excited and I'm like, go.
Yeah, listen, Discord mods, when people accidentally post things in the wrong room one time, relax. It was an accident. Okay.
Exactly. Please. We're all new. Okay. At some point, yeah.
Right.
So there was like a gazillion tabs. Nothing was alphabetized. It was very stressful. There was no rules to the group. But I seen that I had just landed in a honeypot of information and at my fingertips, right? I mean, there was one. I called him the librarian.
1 second. We're having mixed people in the side chat saying they cannot hear you. So can I get the mods to tell me if you can hear Jevan, please? I imagine you can. 1 in the side chat if you can hear Jevan. 2 in the side chat if you can't, please. Apologies, Jevan, for keeping on interrupting you.
That's
I can
fine.
feel. Oh my God, I can feel this chair breaking underneath me. I keep killing chairs. I'm currently on garden furniture because all of my house chairs are broken. Okay, so we've got ones. Okay, so you guys need to. YouTube is doing everything in its power to just not let anyone watch our streams. You can be like, yes. Ron, you're such a conspiracy theorist. Am I though?
Yes. Well, I mean, when you have evil magicians doing active sex magic to close my throat chakra since summer solstice of 2024, I'm used to strange things happening.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to you entering the room and this one individual perhaps not being too fond of the cut of your jib, metaphorically speaking, Jevan.
Well, I don't pull punches with anybody. And that was the last thing she said to me. I didn't have any problems with her. But I was noticing like all this information, all these tabs, there was not in alphabetical order, no type of organization. And I was like, clearly this place is run by men because it is not organized whatsoever. And if we're talking about practicing magicians not having anything organized, no wonder things are being really sloppy around here. So unintentionally sort of become the den mother.
But just let's just go back. I just want to just double check. So you you found this group of your own fruition, right? Or were you led there to the Discord? How was your initial contact? Was it you seen this video, you were like, damn, this is a bit mad, let's go and check this out, and then you went on this journey and now you're there? Is that, am I understanding that right? Okay.
Exactly. Right.
Okay. So you're there, you're a bit of a character, as we say in Scotland. Okay, bit of a character. We all know these people on Discord. All right, they arrive, they like to just let themselves be known. 9 times out of 10, brilliant. Okay, so carry on. And I'm going to try not to interrupt you, and I do apologize. I was just wanting to make sure everyone could hear you.
Well, the owner at that time was really not very forward. And then I think ownership's changed so much. And there's been like subsidiary servers, and there's been there's Ali could probably tell you, or Ariel in the chat could probably tell you about how many given or take that there has been. So I was approached by the one that ran things and was asked about an interview. And of course, my stuff was checked out, and they check you out thoroughly.
So when you say check you out, do you mean background checks, looking into all your socials, that kind of thing? Did you have to give over any information?
Looking into socials, one said that, he was a porno producer in Hollywood, and that when he knew what he was going to be doing, he started cleaning up his socials like 5 years ago. So that was interesting. There was a lot of meetings. There was a lot of talks about just all the occulted stuff. And I kept trying to talk about the Egyptian. I kept trying to talk about other things, but the Greek just kept being pushed.
That was the center of the group studies, though, right?
Yes. Very Luciferian, very ancient Greek, highborn type, higher learning, classical learning, scholars, academics, musicians, artists, and I was kept pretty low and constantly reminded how I was like none of those things. I was even told I wasn't a researcher at one point.
Okay. And why did they tell you that?
I mean, what I've learned is that there are certain groups that groom and train men to keep women disempowered and decentered. Okay. Because if a woman was to rise or know her place or her self-worth, well, she might glow. She might become confident or even independent. And you need to remember what I said about the magicians at the beginning of the interview.
Well, you said that they use females as vessels, as a conduit to strengthen what it is they're doing. That was the gist of what you were talking about, right?
Right. I just wanted to be, part of the group, because what do people want when they stumble into groups? They want to belong. They want a sense of purpose, a sense of importance. They need community. Everyone needs community.
So when did alarm bells start ringing for you, Jevan?
Well, I'd started taking notice about the way women were being treated fairly early. The only other 2 women that were, vocal in the group was a retired schoolmaid who had never been a mother, and a young mother with 2 children and a self-professed man-child husband. They were both very meek and soft-spoken. I am not meek. I am not soft-spoken. I've had to actually operate in my divine masculine my whole life. I've never had a protector. I've always been the protector, the oldest of 5 girls. I raised a daughter on my own.
Yeah.
So I've had to be in my divine masculine, and that makes men think that I'm just like some full on lesbian that hates men, and I'm like, I love men. Okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's quite a dated mindset. I think we are moving out of a lot of this this way of thinking, because I was raised by 2 women, right? And like I say, if I ran a country, right? When Iceland went through their complete and utter economic decline, they fired all of the corrupt bankers, put them in jail, and hired a 90% female workforce and fixed the economy in 18 months. Okay. So there is testament to how messed up testosterone and who can pee up higher up a wall when it comes to investment.
Right, exactly. And then I had, older daughter syndrome, where, I was basically the mother of a 15-month-old and a newborn. So, and they're all girls. So, I'm not anti-man, but I'm very pro-woman. I love to, help other women and inspire them and lift them up.
Yeah, it's often when we write down all the groups that support each other, it fascinates me that the heterosexual white male has nothing. We often like to segregate ourselves from each other, whether we see that as Women United and all of this stuff. I believe it comes from a place of fear, because people often fear finding that equality. It's weird. People find equality within there's the same women and women, men and men, but it's getting that equality united, and that's always how I preach. Now, listen, there's a guy, there is a deity, there is a man at the center of all this, depending on how you look at him. Hang on a second, what the hell's his name? I'm so bad. Ammon's, right? So just to be clear, I've had a question here. Can you talk about Ammon's improprieties and how he's treated young women on multiple accounts? So again, I just want to say, this is testimony from Jevim. This is all allegedly. She's got screenshots. She's got all of her stuff. She's going to make it available to everybody. But just for legal reasons, at this point, I just need to say that out loud. So, Jevan, I meant to say this at the start. You waive your rights to your story being told. Correct?
I freely give my story to the world.
Wicked. Just pretend that was at the start, Sean. Okay, I'll remember next time. So,
I have not earned 1 red penny.
So, let's talk a little bit about his name again. Ammon. I'm so bad.
Ammon
I'm so
Hillman.
sorry.
Can I just call him Hillman? Can I say Hillman?
Hillman. Okay. So
Hillman.
however you want to say. I'm going to refer to him as Ammon. Just it's a more fun word to say, really. So can you talk a little bit about these allegations? Let's start shaping how this defines as a cult in your eyes, the cultish activities, what went on that changed your perception of a group that you were so keen on being part of this knowledge sharing with. How did it all start to go sour, and what was it that you seen that made it all fall apart? Now, take your time. I'm going to shut up.
I will take my time.
And let's go through it. Thank you.
I'm going to get some water.
Okay. Can you guys like and share? Make sure you guys are liking and sharing and pushing this out. I really appreciate it. yeah, let's start shaping the narrative of this cult now. I think we've painted a good
Okay.
picture of who you are, your journey.
Well, I seen that like what they were doing, and there was goals, there was good goals, there was community, there was collaborations on my channel. I'm not monetizing them, but I publish some of the things that I have done, while in there, and just a lot of good, healthy stuff with a lot of hurt guys in there. And I got really, really close to the librarian guy. I'm going to call him the librarian guy. I got super close to him. And I seen that, everybody's having these goals and they're kind of moving in the same direction. And I thought, well, I need to do everything I can on my part to help push this through. So I didn't really do much with my channel. I didn't really want to. I was burned out. And I was about to give it up. And then the leaders, really strongly encouraged me, pushed me to go forward, to keep doing it, to keep doing the work, and had me on for an interview. And I later learned that if you're asked to do that interview, it's not just for a channel. No, it was for the whole group. And I did it. And I knew that, okay, well, if you really want to dig in, you need to read Cain by Lord Byron, because in the past I seen where there was public hazing initiation rituals done. And so I kind of knew what was coming if I really wanted to dedicate time, energy, magic to this group. You got to do what they ask. And so what was required was there's 3 different paths you can take to initiation. There's the Hercules,
Okay,
Venus,
there's 3 different
and
paths. I thought this was
Orpheus.
a Discord group. I thought this was a
I'm sorry,
Discord group. I thought this was a Discord group that like to read books. And now we're getting hit with there's 3 different paths. Continue, carry on. Start again. There's 3 different paths. What was the first path? I'm sorry, that just pricked my ears up a little bit there.
I hope I hold your attention, Ron. You don't want me to start talking about stuff to get your attention.
Oh no, you've got my attention. It's very interesting.
Okay.
You're going to hear in the interview later how things are described from the other point of view. And it's almost like a joked about nerdy book club. And you're going to hear that. And it's just fascinating that a Discord nerdy book club has 3 different paths to go, people. I'm sure there are really simple things like moderator and developer and maybe community, caregivers for the community. I'm sure you're not going to tell us it's anything weird or mystical and magical. Definitely not a cult, right? So, Jevan, what were those 3 paths? What was the first one?
Okay, well, I will talk about the 2 paths I didn't take first. Okay, so you have the path of Venus, which is you take on a lover, a complete stranger, for one night, a one-night stand. Okay,
from the group.
and then
from the group or just anybody
talk about it. Any
from the
stranger you have never met.
All right.
Like, go to the club, pick up a hottie, take a picture, holler at us tomorrow.
Pick up a hottie, get a little naughty. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Easy peasy pudding pie, right? I mean, if you could do that, I was like, nope. I can't do that. Says I've already had one night stands, been there, done that. It's whatever. I don't want to do it again. So, and then the path of Orpheus. I think it was path of Orpheus. or Hercules. Snappy. Which one? Help me get it right. Okay, I think it's Hercules. Hercules is you dressed in drag, and then you had the debate online. That was the path of Hercules.
These are humiliation rituals. Carry on.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I looked it up. Hazing is illegal in all but 3 states in America.
Oh, come on, Jevan. This is normal stuff, right? This is not a cult, right? Okay. That was sarcasm, just in case you don't know that.
I know it was
allegedly
Ron.
sarcasm. I don't know. Maybe it's not a cult. Maybe Jevan's crazy. Who knows? I don't know that. We'll figure it out. So, Jevan, you have to. What was it you said that you had to dress in drag and then go online and have a discussion in drag
with platinum blonde hair?
Okay.
Like Hercules. The 12 labors of Hercules are just rites and passages of initiation. The 12 labors, that's all it is.
We've got a dumbass alert.
These are all initiation rituals from ancient cults.
But they
Whose
admit
club
to
are you
that.
going to be in is basically what you had to figure out in ancient times. Whose club?
Now, just to remind everyone at this point, no one's forcing anyone to do this. Okay. You're all free will. You choose one of 3 paths.
Yeah.
So
because Jesus is a pirate, right?
I listen, I would much rather hear that Jesus is a pirate, right, than Jesus was diddling some kid in a field or a park.
Same difference. It has all bottlenecked what the spin doctor has done as a just an amazing satirist, because that's what he tells you. It's all satire. No. I don't know where I was going with it. Anyway, okay, the trials of Hercules, these are all rites and rituals of initiation. Okay. Right. So the path I chose was the path of, I guess it's the Orpheus path. I don't know. It's the way of Cain. The way of Cain, and what you do, and he'll tell you, and you can go back and watch. He'll be like, sit on the throne. What does sitting on the throne mean? What drug are you on? What do you like? What do you want to do? What do you want to try? It doesn't matter. Get on it. When you're on it, you're on the throne. He needs you on it, so you are a wide open vessel, because this is how it's done in these mystery cults and these initiation rites. It's always involving drugs and sex. So I was instructed to sit on my throne, right? And instead of reading Cain by Lord Byron, I found a recording and I listened to it. And I was told I had to focus on the devil.
All right. Spicy.
So, yeah, I mean, shit, who wouldn't want to? It's supposed to be the prettiest angel, right?
I can't think of anything better than getting off my nut on chemicals and then trying to think about the devil.
No, it's amazing.
Super cool.
You're gonna really face your shadow, right? If
just
you
to clarify
go
as well,
on
this guy Ammon that we're talking about is a real guy. This isn't like a guy, just in case you think, because Ammon's quite a groovy name. He's a real dude. He's like an actual PhD living man.
I mean, he's got tattoos on his head, and he talks about some very sensual, naughty things.
We're going to get into that, because I'm going to let you finish. So you were on the path. It was either sex with a stranger, dress up in drag and go online, or take the crazy satanic off your nut on the throne route, right? And you've gone down this road.
Well, you've got to be on the throne on any of them.
And when you say on the throne, that's their term for taking substances, right? It's time to get on the throne. Time to get on it, right?
Dial round all the way up.
Up to 11, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it didn't matter what drug, whatever drug you want.
And I just want to say to everybody, I just want to say at this point, this individual and the people on Discord, this is still a free will scenario, okay? Now, I imagine when we discuss power dynamics, grooming techniques, and all of that, is going to be an argument for a high prevalence of that too. But we'll get to that. Ron likes to take the Tolkien long way round. Okay, we like to go the long way. So you started your initiation, right?
However you want to do it, Ron.
Well, I'm a slave to my own spectral placement here. So you're on your initiation. How did that make you feel? You've been searching for a place for years. Okay, you've tried other communities, and now we have this guy who is going to do this initiation, right? You've chosen free will, baby. You're there, right? You must have been like, this is going to be the shizness. And then
yeah, right. You're like, oh my God, a secret society.
Right?
I'm in right now. Well,
oh my God.
I'm very persnickety. And I knew that I knew that the things that all these people were talking about and had gone through and experienced was something that was really old news for me, because I walked away from the church in, 1999. So my huge revelations, my huge epiphanies, all of my dream initiations that I'd went through up until this point, and these insights, like I had already experienced life as a functioning magical person before I met this group. So everything that they were experiencing, whoa, oh my God, la la la, like that was me 20 years prior. So I went into it hoping to experience something interesting, but what I experienced when I did the ways of Cain was just that I had already been initiated, and I was just kind of going through the motions because I wanted to be included into this little cocooned family. Okay. And I did do artwork about it. I did know that, okay, well, Cain sounds like me, sounds like everybody else. Everybody's went through these things. And then I was brought in front of a group. I was expected to talk about it, and I had no pomp and circumstance because I had already went through these types of things. It just was not spiritually as profound for me as it was for the guys. And I felt kind of bad about it, but I didn't, because I was like, well, I just can't. I don't know. Was I supposed to like give myself over to the dark side like Vader, or I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do.
So you had a different experience with the guys. Did you find the guys were trying to one up each other on how intense their experiences was compared to how you spoke about it?
The guys that were more masculine leaning instead of more feminized were a little bit, but like competition basically wasn't allowed because there was an energy force from the leader that who top dog was, and then you have your pyramid. And oh, that's my friend, you can't say that about that person, or why would you question that, or everything I did was under a microscope at all times and questioned by every single man involved. But I was supposed to not question anything, not push back. Once I started pushing back, that's when I started noticing orchestrated type situations where I had to make some difficult decisions.
Okay. And touch on that. When you did you see any evidence of manipulation, of people being groomed into magic that was of any sort of sexual nature, did you start to see individuals using a power dynamic to their advantage and manipulating? Are you still there, Jevan?
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. You
Sorry.
just frozen. That's fine. Did you ever see
Yeah, I
any
can get really
evidence?
still when you need
That's
to.
right. Did you ever see any evidence of a power dynamic being used to manipulate the female members or the male members into doing things
Yeah,
that were
yeah.
more?
Well, I mean, encouragement is manipulation if you have an agenda, right? I
Well, I
was
think it's
encouraged
interesting.
to
Yeah.
continue my research and to, oh, but look here and look there, right? Keep doing tarot and the involvement, like talking every single day at length, like hours a day with my groomer, um, like knowing details of my life, very private conversations, very intimate conversations, nothing sexual. Sex was always talked about in the group, but nothing direct. There was men that were hitting on women and non-binary people that were born female. They were let back in after they were removed. So I was all in after the initiation. I was ready to do my part to see how I could help this group succeed. And there was other Discord servers. I was asked to join those different levels. I was watching them establish the levels of initiations in the cult.
Okay. So, how prevalent was Ammon's presence within the group? How heavily?
He was
How
very
often
touch
did it?
and go. I was told that he was the leader's friend, and occasionally he'll come in and talk to the group. He used to be a lot more active before I joined, because apparently there had been a lot of other dramas before I had joined. There had been a lot of blow ups. There had been other people that were kind of bullied into a corner to be hushed. Astra's Garden is one of them. Ali Rowan in the chat is another one that has been publicly harassed and bullied for years.
Yeah. Yeah, she's Ashria's Orchard has been quite vocal in the side chat. So big shout out to you. Sorry that you've obviously had to go through what you've all had to go through. It's wild. Now, so we know that it was ran by someone else, right? Who was the most prevalent? Who would you say was the leader of the Discord?
Snappy.
And who was it that you would say was the person that you feel is responsible for what happened to you within the group? I mean, you mentioned the word grooming. I don't want to, say that's what happened. I wasn't there, but who was that individual?
You asked me again.
Who was the individual that you said was responsible for what you referred to as grooming within that group when it came to you?
My grooming was done by Snappy.
And that's also the person who was in charge, right?
Of the Discord. Well, it changed. Snappy had absolute say. But the owners kept flipping between 2 or 3 people.
Okay.
And like I said, there was no rules to follow. When I boosted the server because I wanted to help, I said, hey, can I please at least organize these tabs? Can I please organize these tabs? And, there had to be a small meeting about that. And I guess, Snappy said, okay, go ahead. Like, I could not do anything.
How did the rest of the group react to you wanting to have some sense of control over part of the server?
it was very, very limited. They were thankful for everything I did, like arrange the tabs and get some order going. I sent one guy who had, sexual harassment allegations made against him by several people. I sent him a laptop so he could better serve the group.
Let me just circle back. I need to define your statement against Snappy, right? We can't just brush over it. It's a very serious thing you've said.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you felt that you were groomed into?
The way I acted in the group, on my own channel. My own channel was under surveillance too. The way I looked, the way I dressed, everything. Thought police. If I had a question about someone that was not under their approval, I was shamed, questioned, given reason why I should think otherwise. But the straw that really showed me that my own actions were being manipulated in some way was when I did a live stream on my own channel. It was about women and women's mysteries, and I was the only woman on the panel on my own channel on a live stream, and I was not allowed to talk. And that is the way it was. I have recordings of these. And on their panels, if I was lucky enough to appear, I was not to speak unless I was spoken to.
Okay.
I was in constant fear of what I might say wrong, and would I be put out, left out, or bullied.
So your interpretation, if just from what I'm saying here, of this grooming is having points corrected that don't necessarily line up with the views of the group, and being told to be silent or having your ability to contribute to live streams controlled. Is that what you're saying?
Right. And I'm slowing the way I'm talking because I'm fighting back tears. This is very stressful. Maybe if I did not try to control my emotions, people would not put false things on me.
Do you not think that some people could interpret a group with a very specific set of goals and thinking, that by joining and trying to voice other opinions and things like this, that this could be why you were repeatedly told what to think? If that makes sense. It's almost like you're trying to bash a square peg into a round hole, and then they're trying to smash the round peg back in, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It was hard for me to try to figure out how to make everybody happy.
It can be very destructive sometimes when what we want to do is make people happy. And it's almost like we want to scream louder so they can see the path that is laid out in our minds that would suit them better than the one they're on, because we can see their pain and we can see how to fix it.
I thought I was in a group that honored women. that loved the goddess, that wanted truth. And that I was around a bunch of men that really loved women and cared about our thoughts and wanted to hear our words. How could you, Gandhi? I went to Gandhi. I went to everybody. I went to everybody trying to seek resolution before I left. I even went to Hillman a couple of times, and he just didn't care what was going on. He made that very clear.
See, I'm going to have to ask you some tough questions now, Jevim, and I'm sorry that this has been so tough on you. Other than being told or being controlled, almost people pleasing to an extent when it came to your live streams, and having,
I had to, yes.
And what would be the repercussions if you didn't do what you were asked, Matt? You know, what you were told, or what opinion? You know, if you didn't.
Well, I'm a fast learner. I looked at how other people were treated and assumed that I would be treated the same way. There was one guy who was in a halfway house and in rehab and had so much battlings with the drugs, and there's so many of them that had alcohol issues and drug issues and addictions and everything, and you know, they were talked about or joked about, eyes were rolled or definitely left out of things. And yeah, they could be like in recovery or even strung out. Does that mean that they still don't carry the voice of God somehow? Yeah, they do. Everyone
So are you
does.
saying that? Are you saying there was no repercussions? You just assumed there might be.
Well, I mean, was I given repercussions like bad girl? No. I mean, there was obvious expressions as to what, you know, what others were doing and what happened when conformity was not achieved. Your poetry wasn't as good. Your research was nothing. You know what I mean?
And was that said in a public or private setting?
Very private. Blacklisted, blackballed, ignored. Right?
Public
Those are
criticism is
all
very
common.
different. Yeah,
Right,
public
right.
criticism is very different from private wearing down and conditioning. Was anything ever good enough? I imagine not, right?
No.
No, of course not. Okay.
No.
Now, I just want to say to everyone who's watching who was part of this group, whether you're on Jevan's side or on the other side, this is clearly a massive story, okay? There's a lot of different elements to this, and there's a lot of people who have things that I imagine they want to say. We're going to be hearing in a little minute or two from when, oh my God, Snappy? Is it Snappy? Snappy, right? Snappy, yes. Now, again, excuse me, you know, Snappy's saying that it's terrible journalism, that I'm going to play this and all the rest of it. But look, I don't think anything you said was too crazy at all. So, and it's interesting because the word grooming, right, is a very, very powerful and dangerous term. Now,
yes, but so is calling someone a TERF and labeling them something they're not because they won't conform.
Now, when you say you won't conform, was that to their ideologies? Was that, and also when you were told that you were to conform, was that in a private or public setting? And was all of this directed from the one individual?
No, I mean, like I said, this is how they move you, right? Right? And you are questioned to see, you're tested, right? You're constantly reality checking, right? Reality checking. Where are you at? What do you think? How do you feel? What are you doing with that? You know, constant reality testing to see where you are.
Shara's Orchard, Ron's cooking. Okay. Just tell me how you feel at the end of the podcast. Trust me, Ron's cooking. All right. I'm sorry we have to do this the Tolkien way. So let's talk about rituals. Let's talk about magic. Let's talk about secret discords. Let's talk about, was there any steps outside the original Discord? Was there discussions of creating societies or groups out with the public Discord? Shape how the community grew whilst you were within it. What direction did you see it taken?
Well, I knew that Snappy was the leader, hands down, and you're either good with Snappy or you're out. And there were several private meetings about Hillman being nervous about going on Danny Jones. And he asked me, because I had finally was able to start taking Greek lessons from Hillman.
Okay.
Private lessons.
How exclusive was that?
Well, they were really easy to get. And Snappy and Gandhi kept asking me, you know, if I wanted to take them for a couple of months. I said, well, I knew it was a huge endeavor and I knew I couldn't afford it. I was like, do I really, really, really want to pay to do something this? Like, I know I have ADHD and autism, so should I really go there? But I thought, you know, maybe I can. Maybe I can do this, right? If I've got all this great help, this great community around me, they can help me. I can learn it. We can learn it together. You know, huge group effort. Let's do it. So I started making these really awesome videos for Hillman to kind of help him in his algorithm, because I love to be creative. I love to work with people. I'm good at it. And I emailed him and I said, hey, maybe we could barter. I'll do some videos and maybe you give me some lessons. And he finally said, okay. So I told you, I'm always told where to go and I'll find it. I'll find something. Well, in my state, I can legally record anybody as long as I know about it. I can do that legally. And right before that one lesson, something told me to record that lesson. I think it was like, you know, you could just keep going over stuff because I was having heart issues. So I recorded it. Well, interestingly enough, in that recording is when Hillman started telling me the story of his ex-wife, which was basically a twist of the whole Medea story, which played heavily on my feminine mothering instincts. And turns out it was a complete lie. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a very far out there story to speak of someone, especially someone that's still in an active profession, medical profession. So what he told, do you want Do you want me to tell you what he told me about his wife?
No. What I'd like you to do, these lessons that you had with him, okay, and the interactions you had, was there ever, other than when you done your initiation, how prevalent was collective ritualistic gatherings between the group?
Not many. Like Snappy had told me about this one time something had happened to a pastor because they were instructed to circle jerk during a live stream. And I have a screenshot of that one to project upon this pastor, and something happened like the next day, and Snappy was really impressed but also stressed about how well the sex magic rituals actually worked for them.
And other than discussing personal, because I imagine that was within his personal practicing, right? What he was referring to. Or was it a collective group thing within the Discord? I imagine it was in his personal life.
Well, it was instructed by Hillman, handed down, passed down in a private group for those born with a penis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you saying that the sex magic was only discussed with the men?
The instruction to do that happened before I come along. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there was alleged teachings of sex magic, but just to the males in the group. That's what you were saying. Was there any?
Right.
So there was I'm on at the top. Then you were saying that Snappy was leader of the Discord. Was there any other management, supervisors, or team members beneath Snappy?
Oh yeah, there was men that I was to respect that I never knew their real name or what they look like. There was a lot of things I wasn't allowed to know. I was female. I was only allowed to go so far.
Did you get a sense of they were trying to emulate the boys' club of the Freemasons, but just add on a side serving of accessibility to females with a mindset that is being geared towards the sexual, ritualistic, substance taking way of thinking? Now, listen, I will say, we're talking about old pagan practices that are someone is trying to bring into a Discord group and create in 2025. If there is ever a ticking time bomb, okay, of anything, it's that business model, okay? Because there's a reason why some rituals and some pagan ways of lifestyles have to be adapted. The gods know this. I've met my god, okay? Full on met him. No religion until my 30s, until I met the wanderer, the one-eyed himself, Odin. Okay? There's no blind faith here.
Exactly.
There's no blind faith. And
they show you who they are. For those with eyes to see, if you are meant to see your deity, they will show themselves to you. You don't need outside sources telling you anything.
Oh, well, listen, this is the thing, right? When you tell your side of the story, it sounds tiny bit culty, right? A little bit, right? It does. It's got culty vibes. It's giving off culty vibes, how you describe it, right? And soon we're going to hear from Snappy on his side of it. And it's interesting because when Snappy talks about what he wanted to achieve, he uses very similar words to how I describe my community. Because I've got a community that I'm technically the leader of, that I believe you have to remove yourself from every decision-making factor as a leader from a community like on Discord. I've got an incredible mod team. The community votes on everything. The mods take full control over every situation. I trust my mods. There's no way for the person at the top to get drunk with power when they release control of their village. It's called democracy, right? There's no initiations.
Yes.
Do you know how
Yes.
funny it is? You know how I was talking about the cool names of the servers, and it was like the Greek name and all this. My spiritual corner on my Discord is called Hogwarts, right? Just to show you, right, how unintimidating we make it. Okay, unintimidating. Hogwarts, mate. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is no
Right.
There's no. You must do a rite of passage. What, mate? Here's your rite of passage for my group. Don't be a dick.
Right, right. Oh, you have to shave your head when you do the way of Cain.
Right?
The way of Cain, you do shave your head.
Yeah, no, I'm the way of Cain in for Ron. Okay. See what Ron's working with here. Dying the one. Sean Atwood. That's the way for that. Sean Atwood would be an easy one for the way of Cain. Just run a bick over that. And he's done. You know what I'm saying? Let it grow in for a day.
Well, no, I mean, he'd have to shave something else or, firstborn. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Other than the rest of it, he would do well. The rest of it, Sean At would back out of that right away. 100%.
I mean, maybe a platinum wig would become him.
Do you know how many wigs that man owns? Too many. Okay. Have you ever seen him? Have you ever seen him just come on in a royal cape with a crown on and a mad wig and a big set of glasses? He's not done it in a while, right enough. But yeah, he's an interesting character. So,
So do you want to hear about what led up to me leaving?
Right. So, exactly. Thank you for reminding me that we're painting a narrative here. So yeah, take us now on the downward hill part of your journey. The build up to it all going wrong.
Okay. Let's see. So we knew that Danny Jones was coming. And I had been hashtagging and putting stuff out, trying to help the algorithm for everybody, doing work for everybody, not myself.
How many people asked you? Was there more people? Did you find yourself offering to do things more than you were being asked? That asked you.
I'm sorry, what?
Did you find yourself offering to help more than people were asking you to do things, or was that like an equal balance between being delegated to and being asked to do?
No, I was asked to. I was video producing like a mother, so yeah, they wanted my work. I was glad to help. As long as they were grateful and not assholes, I was always willing to help. So with Gandhi, we got really close. I sent him books, silver jewelry, rocks, hard to find books. I sent Gandhi 2 boxes around $500 or $600. I sent the one guy, Nathan, a laptop. I devoted a bunch of hours, work hours, because I learned that that's what a lot of cults like to do is free labor. So that's what happened. So
listen, we're getting a little bit of pushback on your view here. Gandhi is in the side chat and he said you offered your work. Now, because I'm very much like you. I'm very much like, I'm here. I want to help everybody. Right. I'm that guy. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble. Okay. Because sometimes you offer your help to the wrong people.
Yeah, you help, and it's like, no, okay.
So there's definitely, you can offer your help, and then people can say, well, actually, you offered, but then offers can go on a little longer sometimes. And I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying sometimes it's easy to say, oh, well, you offered. Well, yeah, I offered to do this one thing, but now we're a year into this and you're still like, you're not asking.
Yeah,
You're just like,
and I mean, how hard is it to see that Jevim aims to please? She loves being, in it to win it with everybody, and it was amazing working with everybody else, but with Snappy was very particular, nitpicky. Oh, I don't like this. Can you do this instead? It didn't matter if it cost me credits with my software, if I had to pay an extra thing. Like, I was putting out funds to get AI renderings and everything to
okay.
meet specifics of Snappy.
And was that overhead known to the team? Did they know that you had this overhead and that you were enduring these costs? Because a lot of the time,
Yes, I was
people aren't
very vocal
prevalent with
about it.
AI.
I was very
Okay, you were.
vocal. Well,
Okay.
Hillman's like, "You're not paying for this, are you? You're not paying." I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm just paying a little bit, but as long as I don't do it too much, it's not going to be too bad." I downplayed my own issues and my own giving, basically. I was asked for help. The thank yous were there, but if I needed something of equal gravity, that just didn't happen, because any questions or things that took away from what Snappy wanted to do was an inconvenience. So what led up to that was when Danny Jones dropped our count number in the Discord, went from less than 300 to over 2,000 in just a few days. And there was a flood of people, and there were nasty people coming in there, and we would have meetings. And Dion said, just assume every walk of life is in here. I said, what are you talking about, every walk? He said, every single walk of life. I said, thousands. So I said, okay, so we got cops and robbers, right? We got angels and demons, right? Basically, yes. Well, before everything hit, what happened was Snappy likes to blow up and just leave. Would rage quit, leave servers, not speak to anybody. And then come back and everybody be, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? Let's put you right back up here where you need to be. Like, Snappy had to be kept happy, or Snappy would rage quit and leave. It happened 4 or 5 times. It happened a lot. And so when this rush come in, Snappy was MIA from the Myth and Lore server. There was more servers, but the Myth and Lore was what they called the meat grinder, I think is what I have to think of his name, the owner. The Italian guy. What's the Italian guy, Snappy? I can't even remember his name. He called it the meat grinder. It was a process. They used it as a process to see who was where with what they were thinking or how they believed or their lifestyle. Perot, thank you, Allie. Perot. The ownership flipped between Perot and Dion. I think Snappy might have become the owner. They would switch ownerships of it. Perot would get stressed out because said the subreddit was going to be insane. So this one guy started a Reddit and then asked me for help. I got kicked out because I kept talking about my experience. I wasn't allowed. Like,
why
they
did they start a
create echo
Reddit?
chambers.
So the
Yeah.
group
So the
started its
Ammon
own Reddit
Hillman
page.
Reddit become an echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
The live stream feeds become echo chambers. And the Discords become echo chambers. I was a mod at the Discord. I become Snappy's mod. I was Hillman's mod. And there was the echo chambers formed, right? You're either with us, for us, or you're gone. So I got booted from the Reddit after I left. So what led up to that was, and I still have this recording, the night before I left, there was a drunk guy that come in, and he took one post and he posted it on a bunch of different tabs. And I said, guys, do you want to deal with this guy or do you want me to? And I think it was Fish who was like, well, let's talk to him. So he comes in, we get into a voice chat, and this guy's drunk and mad and just cussing. And I said, why would you go and post the same thing in different tabs? And I don't remember what he said. He was drunk. But I leaned in. And I'm like, well, I really would like to know why you're just so angry. You're new. Why are you so angry here in this place that you're new? Who made you mad? He was just mad in general, like a lot of these men that come in. Really just mad. And he was like talking. I was like, no, you're not. So they didn't like how I was able to question this guy and get down to the meat and potatoes as to why he was acting that way. And they said I needed to just go to sleep. That I had been, dealing with stuff for too long. So the other guy left, and I looked at Fish, and I was like, Fish, I don't know nothing about you, man. I've known you for months. I don't know nothing about you. I don't know your real name. I don't know what you look like. And you're trying to tell me how to act.
Yeah.
I said, what is your real name? What do you even look like? Why don't you just send me a picture as to what you look like? He couldn't do it. I woke up the next morning, summer solstice, with a message of Snappy wanting to meet. Okay. I didn't know what was going on. Snappy pulls me into, okay, you can keep telling the world you were concerned, you were angry. Snappy pulled me into a meeting with Cirrus and Fish. I don't know where, or Kesker. I don't know where Fish was. Cirrus was there. This one girl who they had dogged the fuck out. They dogged her out because she kept leaving. They let her come back and get her in on a little private gangbang. Let's ask Jevan what she thinks she's doing. So Snappy says, who do you think you are asking my friend? That is my friend. Who do you think you are asking my friend what his name is and what he looks like? I'm sorry, I thought we were all friends. What are we doing here? Dion was there. Dion said, well, we think you're just a little bit too emotionally invested and you need to take a break. I said, I need to take a break. Yeah, you need to take a break. I said, okay, well, before I take a break, I would like to really talk about what's going on in this server. I said, I have women coming to me with issues on how they are being treated. I said, in the way of the looks of it, there's not too much honoring a woman or the goddess at all. So I said, I'm going to go and create a space for women. Snappy threw a fit, yelled at me, called me a TERF, because I said women have they need a place to go. They deserve a place to go where they can research, study, talk, grow communion, and not be treated like some bar whore.
And how did that go?
I was called a turf and I left. And I didn't speak for 24 hours and they were freaking.
I need to say, I listened to everything you said in this part of the story. It sounds a lot like power tripping mods on a Discord having a conversation on Discord. Okay. The cult aspect of this and the grooming aspect of this, I feel like the cult side of it, we can kind of get the essence from the initiations and the mindsets. But I do need to remind everyone this is a group that is practicing and learning knowledge from back in the day, right? Back in the day. It is full of consenting adults who've chose to be there. And I need to just one more time.
I don't know that anybody's ID was checked. There was no rules put up. There was no 18.
Yeah, sure.
18. There was nothing like that.
Okay, so I just need to ask you one more time in case I've missed something or I'm being floofy, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to the grooming allegations, when it comes to, because there's characteristics of grooming, there's love bombing, there is isolation, there is creating this toxicity within the person to repel other people. And it seemed like you were very vocal in the group, and it seemed like you got a lot of pushback, whether it was because people didn't want to hear it or whatever. But do you possibly think we could be in a realm where you were trying to be vocal and into a chamber that just didn't want to hear it? They were maybe trying to build something or focus on something. Now, whether or not you felt how some of these ideologies felt and how some of the individuals felt as they were being there could have been a problem 100%. Because if you've got women who are coming to you saying this isn't a safe space, that's an issue. But then these are all individual cases. When we have magic and mystery and secrecy and lore and legend, it creates an allure. And those with the knowledge or the power are the ones who have this responsibility. Okay. And when it comes to community and it comes to ego, it can creep up on some people. You know, I years ago had a Discord community and I was a complete dickhead, right? Because I was subconsciously sucked into this toxic, power hungry, egotistical version of myself. And it's mad looking back. But in order to have a community, you should not have a dictatorship. A community should be left. You ever seen like those sea monkeys, right? Like you just bring them in the water and then you just feed them and you stand there and you go, oh, look at that one, right? I'm not calling my community sea monkeys, but you know what I'm saying? You're not messing around with the sea monkeys. Do you know what I'm saying? Just your community can flourish. If there's something serious that happens, if there's a massive issue, then I step in. You know, I've done things to keep my community safe because I'm a leader. I don't then go and talk about what I've done to my community. They all just get to sleep comfortably at night knowing that the elemental giant will smash skulls if needs be. But to have this in this day and age, I have a modern community. I'm not practicing a specific like wedge of knowledge, okay? And it seems to me, to be honest with you, I think we're going to see Snappy being a very, and Snappy, again, sorry that I'm giving you the 5-cent psychoanalyzing here. And we're going to hear your statement in a minute. I honestly feel like
I would like to tell everyone that there's 2 servers of proof backing everything I say.
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that.
And soon I will open those servers up to the public.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to get to that too. So here's the beauty of it. There's so many ways to keep
good notes.
Yeah, there is so many ways for interpreting everything that's been said, right? And my conclusion is going to be an absolute banger, by the way. I just want to point out, because as far as I can see, everyone's in the wrong. Okay, everyone's in the wrong here.
Right.
But different levels, different levels. But that's only as far as Snappy, right? Ammon, I've got a funny feeling there's some puppets in play, right?
Absolutely, because he completely lied to the world about why he was fired from St. Mary's College. He lied about what happened in the court records. We've brought the court records forward. He's lied about his wife. He kept his underage daughter involved. He had his underage daughter making these sexually leaning AI video pictures.
How old is his daughter?
Tell the audience, sit on your throne, look at these pictures. They're made to brainwash you.
How old is his daughter?
His daughter was like 14 or 15 when she first started with his channel.
Okay. Well, look, listen, I'm not going to talk about anyone else's kids. Okay. We'll to be honest, I think we're going to extend an invitation. There's a lot of people in this that I want to cross-examine, and I'm very excited to do so. Because I imagine if there wasn't an issue towards women, you probably could have fitted in quite nicely. And I think for you, anything remotely going against a women's whatever, right? I don't think you can handle that at all, and that's okay. That's a good trait to have, okay?
Right? Because I know my history.
But if we're in a place where that is clearly laid out as a mindset within a group, and that is an appealing factor to some individuals, women, men, whatever, should we criticize those who are at peace with that mindset? If it is indeed, Jevan, if it is indeed free will, no grooming, there is no dynamic of power, you just turn up and go, hey, my name's Sally, I want to be treated like a lady 700 years ago, pagan style. Okay? That's okay. That's okay if that's how people want to be. Okay, but I've got a funny feeling we're going to uncover a slow drip of power-hungry, ego-growing, knowledge-keeping power dynamics that were facilitating a romanticized fantasy in a handful of people's minds that created this godlike presence to some people. And I think so powerful when we are lost in a world of our own. The beautiful thing these people have over us, Jevan, is our brains genuinely don't know if we're doing something or thinking about it. And when we look about magic, I like to interpret portals. Okay, we all heard the stories, right? Merlin sits down, gets a mirror or some water, and goes Shaktamone, and then he's looking through the portal. It was like the FaceTime of the day, right? Right? Merlin's like dialing up Sauron. Sauron's like, my G. No, I'm not done cooking. So in 2025, this thing in front of us here, this PC monitor, that's a portal, right? And by engaging with people, transmission of energy, we get drawn into worlds that we can be tricked into believing we have equal play in. But really, we are just pawns in a massive fantasy, magical realm, a world that isn't so much make-believe, it's re-believe. It's a reignition of an old mindset.
Yes, because I have proof of the agendas being taught, pushed. I have proof of, the narratives. And now keep in mind, as soon as I left, damage control was done heavy. So what it is now and what they say now is not what it was then. It is not what was going on then. It is not. Switch. Yes.
The old bait and
Yes.
switch. That
And
is not a
I
good
see
look.
they're like, oh, it's 50-50 now. Okay, well, there's a recording of Ammon reading the chat saying, are women allowed? I don't know why they'd want to. Well, I mean, yeah, they can join. So they will paint me bad as much as possible because, like I said, since summer solstice last year, they've had a strong chokehold on my throat chakra. And Raw Path, I'm a mod at Docs, and they love me, but I still give them shit for the shit they say about women. I stay because they
Yeah.
need to hear what I have to say about women. They need to hear what I have to say about the people they make fun of. They make fun of themselves. That is satire. So if you want to pin that on me, Raw Path, please never speak to me again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind, depending on how far you back you go in pagan history, women were the spoils of war at one point. You know, you go to
Women
a
were
village,
traded as commodities.
You kill a bunch of people, you steal all the gold, and then you leave
Right. I
behind
mean,
a whole
Snappy was pushing
generation.
the lessons of the broodmare and the lessons of the breeding and the husbandry so they could teach the newer ones how the women
Can I
were
just
to
say,
be
Jevan,
treated.
there's a fine line between this is what they were pushing and maybe someone suggesting a book. Do you see what I'm saying? So how
No, they
prevalent
pushed the
was the
books
pushing?
on me too. Well, they're pushing the movies, they're pushing all this literature. And I said, if we're dealing with men who have been sexually abused, right? And preferably by the church is what they need. Why are we looking at these movies like Holy Mountain and these Fellini movies where all these young boys are running around naked? Why are we looking at it? And I forgot the term, maybe a brilliant person in the chat will know, but Snappy said you have to look at it to go through it. They wanted me to read a Club Dumas,
That's not
Labat,
good. Listen, if that's true,
Marquis de Sade,
that's a bit of a mad quote, Snappy, right? We'll give you a
Marquis de
chance to
Sade,
rebuttal.
and constantly asking me, have you read it? Have you read it? What'd you think about it? What'd you think about it? And, I guess they were waiting for me to give them proof to something they were looking for. I don't know.
Okay, so look, I think
But
what I'm going to do.
I kept like, why does he keep talking about sex with kids? Why do we keep pushing these books? Why do we keep pushing these movies? Why does he keep reiterating sex with kids on all of his live streams with the mic right here? Like he's molesting the mic as well.
In what context is he saying that? Because arguably a lot of what I talk about is people doing that to kids, but the context I'm doing it in is exposing them and trying to better the world.
He's like, no. Well, Dion's like, everybody's been sexually abused. Get over it. And I'm like, so you're telling me your old method of trying to help these people through this sexual abuse is through sitting on the throne, reading Lord Byron, watching Holy Mountain.
Are you saying that this was a recovery group? People were using this to try and help themselves through traumas. Was that part of the group?
Yes.
Because that would mean that there was some vulnerable individuals there. Okay,
they
do you know
all
what?
Knew they were
do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what we're going to do? I'm going to play Snappy's conversation with me from earlier. I would like to say I'm going to touch base with Snappy after this, and because I think I want to hear everybody's sides of this. There's more people that that went through what you went, Jevim. I want to hear from them. I want to hear from the other side, and I want to figure out what's going on here because I've got a funny feeling this is going to be an interesting one. So if you guys...
Right. And as soon as I left, they all tried to bully me, to pressure me to come back, and I wouldn't do it.
Well, look, this is 39 minutes, and Ron's going to be stopping it, right? But I would like to just read this out to everyone, okay? I asked AI what the definition of a cult leader is, okay? A cult leader is a charismatic individual who leads a group, often a religious, quasi-religious one, and exercises significant control over the members and their lives. They typically demand obedience, discourage questioning, and may use manipulation to maintain their authority and influence. Isn't that an interesting little paragraph? Now, characteristics of a cult leader. Charisma. Cult leaders often possess magic personalities that draws followers and inspires loyalty, metaphorically and literally. They exert a strong degree of control over members' life, dictating their beliefs, behaviors, and even relationships. Difference and obedience. Cult leaders often demand absolute obedience from their followers, discouraging independent thought and questioning. Is all of that sounding familiar, Jevan? It sounds a lot. Anyway, I'll carry on. Isolation. They often isolate members from the outside world, limiting contact with their family and friends. Cults often employ tactics thought to reform or coerce persuasion to shape the beliefs and behaviors of their members. The leaders' teachings and decisions are rarely questioned, and any dissent is often met with punishment or shame. Cult leaders typically hold a strong, often unusual or extreme beliefs, and their followers are expected to embrace. That is pretty mad, right? When you listen to that and then line it up with your story. It's amazing that we're probably going to conclude that a bunch of people accidentally formed a cult. This is going to be fascinating. Okay, the only person that knows this is a cult is Ammon. I'm just saying, I'm going to call it right now. You little rascal. Where are you? Where are you? I know you're watching. You're this little scamp. You little scamper. You little scamp. You want to come and talk? You know you want to come and talk to me. Okay? I'll let you talk for 2 hours, and then I'll hit you with stuff, and you're like, oh, God, this guy actually does have a brain. Don't let the hair fool you, Ammon. Come on, my guy. Come on, Ammon. No, that's not the right song to be singing. That's been cancelled. I retract that. Okay. Strong belief systems. Okay, right. Kind of sounds like a lot what we were just talking about here. But again, it could also sound a lot like a group of people that are focused on one agenda. But also could not be. It's one of them. Right, here we go. Okay, here we go. Again, I just want to state this because no one stated this was off the record.
Hold on. Yeah. Hold on. I want to address what Snappy said.
Okay,
they accuse me of slander when I speak the truth, when all they have done is spread lies and slander on me and Allie. Okay.
Hang on a second. If you're saying
I
ridiculous,
do not want him. I do
if
not
you're saying
want
ridiculous
him.
to this, are you good? Are you good, mate? Because like I'm not being funny.
I'm okay. They accuse me of, they say
that
I was kicked out because I was denied access to Hillman. I never wanted Hillman.
Listen, we're going to get into that.
That I don't have dirty sex demons for him.
Evan, don't worry. We're going to hear Snappy's, all of that in a second. Then we're going to come back to that. Okay. But I just want you all, I need you all to look at this definition. Listen to what you've just heard. Okay? And what's really interesting about the Julia case, there's a lesson for every form of life in the Julia case, right? There's a sentence when it comes to harassment. Some people can think they're being harassed, but they're not. And some people can harass people and think that they're not. It's a very interesting dynamic when we have what used to be, you would need a building for this, a cult, a coven, a group, a social club. You would need a building. Now all you need is a laptop. And our ability to disconnect from what is often a sincerely skewed reality is merely just a fold of a laptop lid away from being away from our thoughts. So now let's listen to this. Now I want to prefix this because this wasn't off the record. I've been a bit cheeky. I'm not going to lie. I was pressed for time. And obviously I will be giving Snappy the opportunity to come and talk. His people, your people, all of that, because this is an interesting one. So this was a bit of a, and it wasn't a secret recording. There was no secret recordings. It was voice notes that were sent to each other that were, that's how we did it. But again, I want to go into this. So let's go.
Okay.
Hi, Sean. Yes, I would love to talk to you and explain more. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page and you understood where I was coming from. So yes, I am one of the people that she is slandering and directly attacking in her narrative. I am Snappy. I run the channel Drawing Down the Stars, and she has claimed that I groomed her and that I, abused her and all this horrible stuff, none of which is ever true. I met Jevim, Buffy, aka Occult Examiner, through a public Discord called Myth and Lore, of which I'm no longer part of, but at the time I was helping moderate, which was a Discord that was discussing the occult and magic and paganism, as well as other things. Jevim had approached me on that Discord because she was interested in the work of Ammon Hillman, and Ammon Hillman is a rather interesting figure on YouTube who talks about Christianity and its connections to the Greek magical world and such. Anyway, we had become friends. I had been showing her a bunch of this research. We had been talking and collaborating about things. Eventually, what ended up happening is things got way too out of hand and intense with things. She started to enter into manic states and making all these quiet, crazy, wild accusations. I would love.
So up until the manic state reference, your stories are pretty much lining up, right? It was a public server. You joined. You were interested in the teachings. Everything's super friendly. The proverbial. It hasn't hit the fan yet. So that little bit all lines up. Right. That bit lines up. So now this is going to be the part where I'm going to let it play through. And if there's things that make your toes curl and make you want to smash stuff, just power through it. Okay. Not that there will be, because I'll be honest, there really isn't. There really isn't. But I know.
Yeah, and if I don't know you and you're speaking on my behalf or how somebody else might think or view me, if I've never met you, you're too new to consider this right now. You need to go and do some research. Thank you.
Okay, let's continue.
Love to be able to talk to you guys clearly and defend her positions and her points, because honestly, there is no cult activity at all, right? Ammon Hillman was never involved in the Myth and Lore Discord. It's a Discord. It's a bunch of people hanging out.
Lie. That is a lie.
Grooming her was telling her to read books, read texts, talking to her about different magical rituals, all of which were at her discretion. Nothing here was ever forced or manipulated, or she was ever encouraged to do anything. She was just someone who was interested online, and I provided her with information.
So Snappy said that Ammon is not really involved in the Discord. You had clarified yourself that he wasn't very much there. So I imagine his reference was to his...
Right. He had not been involved, but I mean, he had plausible deniability with it all because he was very skittish too. And I mean, Snappy was the go-between between the Discord and Hillman, but Ali and Ariel can testify that he was involved earlier on. See, Astra's Guard, Hillman was involved when I was there. Yes, so at one time Hillman was involved.
Listen, let me give you an analogy. How often do you see the guy paying for the substance standing on the street corner selling it? You don't ever see. Okay.
Right.
Trust me. Right. Ron's cooking. So just to clarify, he was never really physically there, but I imagine behind the scenes, possibly a little bit more. But let's continue. Don't worry, we're cooking. The oven.
Now I have dozens and dozens of people who can collaborate my side of the story. I can present you many, many different people who have had serious issues with this woman where she has slandered them and can back up and collaborate my version of the events. She claims that
that would be amazing. I would love to hear them because none of them have come to me in earnest and said, let's talk.
No, let it play through. Okay, because it's really important that we let Snappy's words be heard. Okay, we will, because we're only 2.5 minutes in, right? So we need to let this play through. And I'm going to find it just as hard as you. Okay. And for every time that you want to talk or I want to talk. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to light my ciggy. Right. So we're going to let this play through, everyone. And I do apologize for the stopping.
Was recommend them books, send them emails. To be a cult leader, you have to actually lead and bloody do something. Okay. All Ammon does is teach the Greek and rant and rave in a theatrical way online. Okay. All Ammon has to teach people is how to read the Greek and how to read magical texts. And the only magic that we were doing or encouraging anyone to do was to engage the magical texts, to read these particular books, and to try themselves. So we were doing things like implementing, or we were doing things such as, being inspired by ancient rites, being inspired by Greco-Roman pagan tradition. That's it. I've never met this woman in person. She has never met Ammon in person. No one has done anything to her other than share with her information and encourage her. I invited her on my channel. I tried to become her friend. And when things got a little overwhelming, when she was trying to get close to Ammon, who, Ammon, I'm just a student. I'm not even a current student of Ammon. I was only a student of the Greek at the time. And she wanted me to help her get into Ammon's inner circle, of which there is none. There is no inner circle. This is the thing that blows my mind. Like, for a cult leader to exist, someone has to be asking you to do things. Someone has to be asking for money. Someone has to force you or hurt you or something. The worst thing that Ammon ever does is ignore people. Right? He just didn't engage with her. And this is an angry, butthurt woman, right? Who's lashing out at the world because she was not paid attention to nor supported. Okay. Ammon says a lot of radical and intense and often controversial and scary things. But in order to be a cult leader, you got to have a fucking cult. You have to have a group of serious people that's actually doing something, not a Discord of people talking online and maybe even collaborating, right?
Correct. But if he has 10 or 20 Discords and 10 or 20 Snappies, you don't even realize, Snappy, what you're involved in at that stage.
And like I said,
and also, when you say someone's not involved in a server and then discuss the radical things that they're constantly saying online, I can only assume that's on that server. It's a little bit conflicting.
If you really need receipts, if you want people, I can get you in contact with at least a dozen people here who can support me. And I would love to share my narrative with Sean. And I could answer any of his questions and can greater explain what's going on with Ammon Hillman and Ammon Hillman's work. Because I was a student of Ammon Hillman, unlike Jevim. And I had worked with him and do know Ammon, but here's the thing. Even I eventually moved on from Ammon because I wasn't interested as much in the work that he's doing. He's fixated on Christianity, and I'm fixated on doing the tarot, peace and love type stuff. You can go check out my channel, right? I'm not here out to harm or to slander anyone. And the fact that she is painting this narrative is absolutely insane. I'm currently in contact with a lawyer, figuring out how to deal with this situation because she has been slandering my business, drawing down the stars, and using my name. And I am in the process of working out a way to sue her for libel. I'm just in a different country, So this is how intense it's getting here. And I want you to be aware of the full situation. And if it goes and it continues on your channel, and I find my name being brought up, Snappy, drawing down the stars, then I'll have to inform my lawyers of that as well.
I hear what you're saying. It sounds like this is a very charismatic, engaging, and, strong character that you're describing. And he seems to like to draw people in and then recommend or guide people to religious or mystical texts. Of course, a Discord is no different than a town hall. It's just a digital version of that. And by creating echo chambers and creating digital areas in which you can isolate individuals, it's always interesting how quick people are to sort of pan off, oh, it's just this. Let me ask you, when you joined his school or you were his student, the indoctrination and the initial steps, was there an oath or a commitment or a pledge that you had to take as a student? Yeah, I'm not worried about your lawyers or anything like that, dude. I've been doing this 10 years and exposed the worst of the worst, heard the threats, seen the panic before stories go out and all the rest of it. It's just another day at the office for me. But like I say, you seem pretty capable of proving your points. Currently, it's a he said, she said scenario. So, yeah. And what else? I don't know. Like I say, you're going to have to tell me more. Tell me about the masks and the drugs and the books. Because you mentioned the books, but you didn't mention the masks and the substances. So you want to talk about that? And let me know about the pledge and that sort of thing. If you do not mind, of course.
Oh, of course not. I don't mind. I don't mind talking about any of this. So first of all, there were several types of initiation that people were encouraged to do, but you got to understand something about magical initiation and the way that we were approaching it. This is something that you can do in order to get in contact with your personal muse. This is something that's been talked about and documented in the pagan and occult world for decades and decades and decades. There is nothing untoward or weird about any of this kind of stuff, okay? You know, these kinds of initiations can also be incredibly normal. I know what I know that they also can be a little bit disconcerting, but they also could be just nothing, right? Here's the thing. There was some weirdness that happened in the Discord and some things that went down in the wrong way. And I will fully admit that but first of all, it has nothing really to do with Ammon. This has mostly to do with me. And I take full responsibility in regards to some of the things and how they went down. Ammon didn't start the Discord. Ammon was barely on the Discord. The only time he ever came on the Discord was when I asked him to come for a couple private chats. The truth is, he doesn't really know how to use technology, so he wasn't even participating in it. I was naive and foolish. I got really inspired by some of these things, and I really liked the idea of forming a secret magical society. And so we decided to create, potentially one, but it wound up never materializing because it was just a bad idea, honestly. And I had been trying to get people to do one of the initiations.
I just want to make sure everyone understands that by having a secret group of magic users that are all part of a coven or part of their own group, that is not a cult, okay? In many occasions, yes, it is. But trust me, if you're a hardcore practitioner of organized religion, I know how much of this can be misinterpreted, okay? And I'm just letting that be known because I'm a practitioner of magic. I'm a pagan witch. And I just feel like it needs to be known that will and intent are what defines the magic user, okay? There is no such thing. When people talk about black magic and white magic is selfless. It's, I heal Jevan, selfless. Black magic is, I heal myself, selfish, okay? Then there's evil, horrible, ancient, disgusting magic, okay, that has no place. So if you go into creating any form of society and your intention is for the good of that society, that's what will happen. When you have corruption, toxicity, ego, all of these will lead to catastrophic failure. You will have those who see through a bait and switch. And I'm not saying that's what's happened. I'm just ranting here. So we're going to continue.
Okay, that we're encouraged through the magical texts and whatnot, you know? And okay, so it's, what do I say? How do I explain this in a way? First of all, you know, drugs can be an entheogenic experience. They can be an enthusing experience. They can be a deeply devout and religious experience, and they're part of basically all major religious traditions. Okay, and the only, you know, Ammon would talk about the drugs and would talk about how it's an intense part of the ritual, intense part of any kind of these initiations and whatnot. It's not something I generally encouraged or enforced on people. Not something that, you know, it's like, okay.
It's free will, what he's talking about here. Okay. And it's exactly what Jevan had mentioned. There was offers made. You were free to make a choice. And trust me, there's going to be a few occasions where Snappy's talking and he does sound like he's tripping over his words a little bit. I fully understand what it's like to try and explain to an unknown audience of people what it is that you're into without it sounding like you're a crazy person with a cult. I understand. So please understand. Give him a little bit. I'm not defending anyone. I'm not picking sides here. I just have to put that out there.
Basically, when we were doing is Ammon showed us a bunch of different texts in which you could do personal initiation if you wanted to. So he exposed me first off to a book called The Syrian Goddess by Lucian, which talks about the priestesses of the goddess of Aphrodite, and explained that during the festival of Adonis, the priestesses of Aphrodite would shave their heads in mourning.
I disagree, Snappy. I disagree. I don't think I've disarmed you at all. If anything, we're getting a balanced discussion from you here, because I find everything that you're saying incredibly interesting, because I understand online communities, religion, magic, faith, ancient knowledge, the allure of it, all of it. Trust me. Okay. You will probably never find a podcaster. You probably will, right? But trust me, I understand how difficult it is to try and get this across to the normies, the muggles, if you will. And for me, I don't think there's anything wrong with what you're saying here.
For the loss of Adonis, which is part of the myth. Adonis dies and he's resurrected, and he's resurrected through the power of mourning, right? So this was engaging in that tradition.
Yeah, I mean,
I wanted to bring up the Aeon that's currently in your chat. That one has we have proof of him abusing us as well.
Okay, well, look,
he's been horrible to me.
Trust me, Snappy, right? Trust me. Well, you don't have to trust me, but this is how I'm doing it.
Traditional rites, and we were encouraged to, to potentially do that. Now, no one had to do anything. This is the thing where it gets so intense, is that Ammon was telling people, if you wanted to learn more magic and you wanted to gauge magic, then you have to do those kind of initiations. But not everyone you don't have to do the magic. You don't have to get involved in anything. And there were many, many ways, right? So that was one initiation, was going to the Syrian goddess, engaging in the act of mourning, shaving your head. And, this is something that I had done and was deeply rewarding to me. And
again, for me, all of these rituals and things like this sounds very outrageous to a lot of people. It's normal stuff, right? It's normal stuff in the magic realm, right? Paying homage. There's a lot of it, okay? I'm not a practitioner of any of it, okay? My will be done, right? I am the magic, okay? I don't need the rituals. I don't need that, okay? And it fascinates me because the ancient knowledge and these moments where people unlock these substance fueled encounters. Again, it's when we're talking about, do you know how much fungus pagans have eaten over the over history? All of it.
Oh yeah, exactly.
All of it, mate. Do you know?
Oh yeah.
If you look where all the pagan settlements are, does it just so happen if they're all in Scotland to be right near where all the little gold caps grow every year? Is that coincidental? I don't think so. So just understand, you're hearing things that sound odd to a lot of people, but to a lot of people, these are normal things. You might think that they sound over the crazy to a lot of people. Sure, that's fine. But, blind faith, I'm just saying.
And totally opened my eyes and allowed me to engage in my spirituality in a very deep way. And the other thing he was getting us to do was go through books. And the idea in this particular tradition is that the books are you engage the power of active imagination. Something like cannabis is used to empower the imagination. So we would read something like Lord Byron's Cain. Lord Byron's Cain is a reinversion. It's a retelling of the myth of Cain and Abel, and it tells you to confront the deity, the Christian deity, and expose the lie. But all of this is just mythopoetic kind of stuff and fun. It's about self-empowerment and self-engagement. Okay, so yeah, there was that narrative. There was also in the Syrian goddess, the priestesses sometimes went out and they would engage in other things. But, these kind of initiatory magics and whatnot was never even the main focus of anything that we were doing. And it was never mandatory. It was never enforced. Most people don't do anything. And it certainly wasn't Ammon that was forcing people to do this. I was just, like I said, I was naive. And was inspired.
Wait a minute. You have to stop this, Ron. Stop it, Ron. Stop it.
Sure.
Stop it. There are many live streams where Hillman is saying to go the way of Cain, to sit on the... He was forcing it in his implied ways. Go sit on the throne, read Cain by Lord Byron. Go sit on the throne. Look at these photos. They're meant to wash your mind. Snappy just lied.
And so that was Ammon that was saying these things. Is that what you're saying?
Well, Snappy said that that Hillman never
Hillman.
Pushed it and forced it, but on his live streams, he's telling everybody to go do it. So okay. I don't even understand.
Well, technically then he's right if he's not doing it on the Discord. If you see what I'm saying. He might be pushing that on his channel.
Right, but right. So after I left, they put up the Discord, like I have screenshots. They put Hillman in his live stream, put the Discord link up and said, I hear there's somebody else making a Discord. Don't go there. Go to the Myth and Lore one. The link's in the chat.
Okay.
Like he's running people. He was corralling people into the Discord server. After after Danny Jones hit, he was getting over 1,000 viewers.
It's a marketing funnel. I just want to say what Snappy said here is really important. Okay, this is one of the key things, Snappy, that is important that I play here. Okay, I'm just going to replay it.
The priestesses sometimes went out and
not this bit. Not this bit.
They would engage in other things, but these kind of initiatory magics and whatnot was never even the main focus of anything that we were doing. And it was never mandatory. It was never enforced. Most people don't do anything. And it certainly wasn't Ammon that was forcing people to do this. I was just, like I said, I was naive and was inspired.
I was naive and inspired. I completely believe it. Right. And there's no disrespect in being drawn in by an individual like this Ammon character. Okay. He clearly has enough draw that people will gather in his Discord that he's not even present in. You know? There could be a much bigger picture here at play than anyone involved in this has any realization of.
Right. Like him, like he, him, like, see, when I was trying to figure things out, I was sent one recording of Hillman talking about his involvement with the CIA.
Yeah, listen, I've got a guy that used to hang out around my Discord that apparently his whole family are like secret agents from like Lithuania, right? Do you know what I'm saying? The internet full of characters. Can I ask you, Snappy, in the side chat? Can I ask you, did Ammon ever make you feel special? Did he ever single you out? Did you ever feel favoritized? Did you have a draw to make this man happy? And to be honest, I'm just asking. And again, you probably won't be honest, but that's fine. I'm going to keep playing this. Well, no, I'm not. You will be honest. I'm not trying to paint you as a liar.
Was having fun. I was engaged in the artistic creation, and people were asking me, well, how do I engage in the art like you are doing, like Ammon is doing? And I told them, well, you could do this and this. If I could go back in time and tell people never to fucking do any of that, if I could see how weird people would get about everything, I never would have. But, you know, there was never any kind of serious anything. You know, Jevim is going to bring up a secretive discord called the Ordo Templo Orientis. That was something that I had made up.
All of my mods, could you imagine me trying to remember that? Can we just hear that again?
Jevim is going to bring up a secretive discord called the Ordo Templo Orientis.
The Ordo Templis Orientis. That, well, I don't even know what that, unless it means like something horrible. I take it that's Greek. I'm telling you now. There's a reason why I speak English and I speak it terribly. I can't even remember what it was, but I mean, could you imagine? Anyway, we're carrying ADHD.
That was something that I had made up in hopes of forming something, but it never materialized because it was a bad idea. Trying to get people to do initiatory magic. No one engages with this. And always with all of these discords, with all of these things, there was an express understanding of democracy, of individual exploration. Ultimately, this is individual paths. People are engaged in their own magical traditions. We're all eclectic people working in a non-dogmatic spiritual tradition. Okay, there was never any forcing or making to do anything. You know, and you can find this kind of magical rites in the bloody chapters bookstores, my friend. Okay, like, you know, all of that stuff about drugs that Ammon is talking about and getting into the intensity of that in terms of the high priestesses and whatnot. I wasn't doing anything of that. I'm not a drug user. You know, I'm someone who engages in meditation, in spiritual.
That's a lie.
Well, listen, I think there's a big difference between alchemy and being, you know, a freaking fentanyl head.
Strung out. I understand the difference too, but maybe things should be completely clarified.
Well, no, I'm going to just say that at no point do I even really hear Snappy confessing to doing anything. And this is the internet, so we're not going to assume that he has any sort of anything like that if he wants to admit to anything he can do. But again, there's a big difference between responsible adults doing things for whatever reason, cosmic reasons, you know, dance festival reasons, you know what I'm saying? But it's all alchemy, you know? There's certain things that are not included in this, you know? And basically anything with a needle anything that involves like a tiny glass pipe from like any sort of 1980s movies about high-rise flats in America, none of that. There's certain things that are just not on the list. But you have to look at the history of man. We are the freaks of nature.
Exactly. And if I was not abused, I stayed stressed out, half my hair's fallen out, and I've lost 75 pounds since I left the cult from stress.
Let's continue.
Practice in the reading of books. Okay. You know, keep asking me questions, because I will, I'm seriously, like, all of this is just so ridiculous, right? Like, I'm not trying to threaten you with the lawyers. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just making you abreast of the situation and what's going on here, because it's gotten to the point of just ridiculousness. Like, this woman was not forced to do anything. This woman was not made to do anything, right? We were all just.
Would you say that's right? Would you feel like you weren't forced to do anything?
I think it was persuaded coercion.
Okay, so we could be looking at a power dynamic situation here.
Aeon, I did not make my own hell. I made your all's life hell, and you are mad.
I mean, I'm listen. We're going to finish this, and I'm going to hit you all with a conclusion. Then I'm going to make the two sides of this an offer. Okay, and it's been a long journey for those who have stuck around for the 2.5 hours, and it's been a long cooking session, but we're getting there. All right, we're getting there.
People engaging in the mystery, and Ammon was never even fully involved. She's never really talked to Ammon at all, right? Ammon never was encouraging any of this kind of stuff. This was just people talking on a Discord, reading books, and inspiring each other to engage in the spiritual world, to try and become better than who we are, to try and have a connection to the ancient past. And like I said, the books we're reading are historical books, like The Syrian Goddess by Lucian, which is a major text in religion studies, which documents the Syrian religious tradition at the time. That's, like we're reading Lord Byron's Cain, okay? Like, these are commonplace books. There's nothing that spooky about them, We're engaging in literature like The Bacchae by Euripides, Medea by Euripides, the Argonautica by Apollonius of Rhodes.
Didn't understand one of those words. None.
Aristophanes' frogs, Aristophanes' birds, right? Like, and someone like Jevan wasn't even reading the books. Part and parcel of the problem was that she wasn't engaging in the tradition and wasn't able to participate, and then she felt upset.
Oh, no. It's very famous literature. I'm not mocking it. I really struggle with words, man. Like, you're not, if you're not a regular viewer, you won't get it. But no, I mean, no offense. They are famous books. But man, there's a reason why words have got way simpler now.
Because people didn't want to work or didn't want to be around her, because she was just not a part of the thing. And besides, like, all of that community, all of it has fallen away. None of it exists anymore, right? Ammon doesn't have anyone that he's empowering in this kind of a way, right? Like, sometimes, I would send him messages and he would just send me book recommendations. Oh, what do you think about this myth? What do you think about that myth? And largely we're talking about this from a religious study standpoint, trying to re-engage the Greco-Roman tradition to find the underlying feminine current that had been displaced. What did she have that she's claiming that we did? She's never met anyone. No one ever did anything to her. If she was doing drugs, that's of her own volition. If she's doing magical rites, this is of her own volition. And all of this is a narrative that she has concocted in her head, right? That she has concocted in her head. There is no group. There is no cult. There is no leader who is asking for anything. All it is was a bunch of nerds who are reading Greek books. Ammon can be a charismatic figure, but he's not even offering advice. He's not offering anything to people. Like I said, he's teaching you how to read Greek, how to analyze a Greek text. This is just celebrating of the classics. This is humanities. All of the, I understand why people want to get in on this because they think it's so juicy because Ammon is such an intense performer. But it's a performance. It's a satire. This is someone who is a dear friend of mine, Jevim, and I loved her. And I just feel so awful about this whole situation. I still have nothing but love and respect for her. And I tried desperately to let this go. I was hoping that she would move on with her life and leave me alone. I don't want to engage in this. I don't want anything to do with any of this. I'm just trying to be a spiritual person. I'm just trying to be a good person. I have my own, I'm not, no one, Ammon isn't even, I'm not even connected to Ammon anymore. There's not even anything going on. There never was anything of any weight to it. This is literally a woman who concocted and made mountains out of molehills. Normally, you guys are dealing with serious victims with real abuse, with real stuff going on, that they were manipulated, that they were giving their money, right? That they were, none of that was happening. Nothing remotely like this was happening.
Apparently, there's just
So when you talk
there we go.
It's happening.
Exactly, Catherine.
So when
If this
when you
is
talk
love, I don't
about
want it.
the initiations and these things that are being spoken about but aren't Ammon's fault, the things that happened that got out of hand and the weird things that took place on Discord, who's responsible for those? Is there any way that you are a individual who overstepped in a Discord that you had a little bit of power in, and the ripple effect of that is now stretching out across the internet, and possibly you're in panic mode because you were lost in a magical world with hierarchy, that you were in a position of power because of your closeness to Ammon. Do you not understand the relevance of that when there's initiation and drugs? And you can say there was nothing pushed on anyone, but when an entire community is focused on one ideology that you're all focused on learning together, those who may not embrace that would be outcast, right? Or am I wrong?
Well, this is where things got a little bit, did get out of hand, get a bit confusing. And I do accept full responsibility for my actions. And my determination was, first of all, the public discord was never one about a specific single ideology of any kind. Okay, it was never about a specific ideology of any kind. My naive attempt was to try and form a group of close personal friends who were engaging in more private work on a specific ideology. And I didn't want anything to be hierarchical at all. There was always the express understanding that this was supposed to be something without leadership, without control, without enforcing. And I did witness people get upset and hurt by this. And this is why the whole thing ended. And we didn't do a private group where we were encouraging people from one specific ideological perspective anymore. That whole thing I have completely distanced myself from. And again, I accept full responsibility for that. That wasn't Ammon. That was my attempt to try and create a study group of like-minded friends to engage in this sort of thing. And we did, yes, encourage people to explore the mystery, to engage in the initiation. And then when people didn't do it, they did get upset and it did get hurt. And things did get out of control in that regard. And like I said, I fully take.
That was a very interesting thing you just said there about everyone has this free choice, as you've been painting up until now. But you just said yourself that there was initiations that were pushed, and if people didn't engage, people got hurt. Am I right in saying that? Let me just replay that.
Why the whole thing ended. And we didn't do a private group where we were encouraging people from one specific ideological perspective anymore. You know, that whole thing I have completely distanced myself from. And again, I accept full responsibility for that. That wasn't Ammon. That was my attempt to try and create a study group of like-minded friends to engage in this sort of thing. And we did, yes, encourage people to explore the mystery, to engage in the initiation. And then when people didn't do it, they did get upset and it did get hurt. And things did get out of control in that regard. And like I said, I fully take responsibility for that. But there's a big difference here between anything like a cult and just a bunch of people trying to explore something and be friends with each other, you know, and I put it to bed. You know, I've been doing as much as I possibly can in the coming time since then to distance myself publicly in terms of the Ammon work and to, you know, be a positive force in this whole thing. You know, I feel terrible about what happened with Jevim and how she has taken this and twisted it. There was never any intention to try and create any sort of hierarchical systems of control. And, you know, I didn't have real access to Ammon. This is all a big misunderstanding and all about a bunch of confusion, right? There is no inner circle. There was no hierarchy in terms of initiation. Initiation didn't grant you anything. These were just things that Ammon was saying, well,
it would grant you access to knowledge, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, just
the inner
case.
circles. Yeah. Yeah,
Just
because there were more servers, right? Because remember, the main one they're talking about was just the meat processor, right? To
Like
figure
server,
out,
yeah.
just to figure out who was going to be eligible to get moved on, and who would need to be moved out, who need to be watched a little bit more. Yeah, it was a whole process.
Oh, that it's not even a whole process. It's just a basic bitch business model for filtering like-minded people, vulnerable.
Yeah, like
people.
who can you get? Who's a member? Who's a strong ally for the echo chamber? Yeah,
100%. Listen, trust me. If I'm not even going to say what I'm going to say, let's just continue.
Oh, if you want to pursue this, well, this is what the ancients did. Now it's up to you. My naivety and my childishness was taking that and trying to encourage others and to form a community based around that, something he never did and something I deeply regret because that was the wrong approach. It was the wrong approach. You know, my current approach is to entirely approach this from a personal, individual perspective and not to encourage others outside of that. You know, I tell people to explore themselves, to explore their own creative abilities, and to approach the spiritual from that individual path of love and acceptance. And if they want to engage in the texts, they can engage in the text on their own. It's up to them for how they proceed with any of this. You know, and it's the same thing with entheogens. I have a 3-part series on my channel where we discuss in depth the perspective on entheogens within the magical tradition. And I always reiterate time and time again that this is not something for people to just play with or to do. And it's not even necessary. It's all at people's discretion. And at the same time, you have to truly know the self and the body. And this is not a path for most people, right? And it's something that must be engaged in a very, you know, personal, individual way in which for mature adults, you know? So what really happened with this whole thing? Was I got too inspired and I thought that I could help bring people together for the purpose of forming an inspired community around some of the ideas that Ammon had promoted. But these aren't even Ammon's ideas, right? This is the other thing. We're talking about Greco-Roman paganism, Okay, we're talking about an ancient Hellenic tradition that has existed and continues to exist. You can find all the stuff that we were talking about in public books at chapters, you know, like, again, Ammon may be a controversial figure who says some intense things, and he talks about wild things about the past in terms of the more intense aspects of like drug use and whatnot. But like, we were never fully encouraging any of that. And again, my idea.
Now, you
That's
just said you weren't fully encouraging any of that, but I'm pretty sure a minute ago you just said something a little. Did you not just say something a little different? Did you not just say that we were? There was definitely something there. I can't remember what it was, but you're lucky. I can't remember. You're lucky. I'll find it.
All I was trying to do was bring people together as a friend group, and I was naive about this. And now, like you pointed out, I recognize, like, I would never, ever